So first I was like, whoa! Then I was like, huh? Then I was like, So for those of you who have been living under a rock, the new ban list finally came out yesterday actually, but I'm uploading this video today because I figured I would let things settle a bit, let some of the initial impulsive emotional responses to the ban list maybe get a bit of a chance to sleep, and then I figured I'd talk about it. So, before we start this video, I want to remind you guys, I'm giving away 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! Chibi playmats, the ones that were released about 2 weeks ago. Check out the description for a chance to win one of those, and yeah. Alright, so, let's add a bit of context before we get into the nitty-gritty. So, this ban list has been very long awaited, more long awaited than most past ban lists, because, we have been in a very crazy format. I mean, we've had crazy formats before. We've probably had worse formats before, but we've been in a very crazy format with a lot of strong feelings about a lot of different decks. We had things like, you know, the Genlock in Necroz. We had decks that people just didn't like, you know, Satellar Knights and Ritual Beasts. And then we had things like Burning Abyss and Shaddolls that kind of felt like they would never die. And then we had, you know, stuff like Tower Turbo that just feels really, like, trolly and annoying. Well, the problem here is that the ban list didn't exactly come out on time. Granted, Konami had not given us a date that we should expect it, but people were angry because there wasn't any transparency, and we were expecting to get it on like July 1st or shortly after, and you know, nobody really knew when we were going to get it. There was a lot of like rising tension. Then an ARG list came out, which caused more strife and more, you know, chaos and divide, and so now we finally have our ban list, our official Konami ban list. It's out, and there have been some pretty strong opinions on it that I've read so far, but I'm going to set everything aside and kind of take the cards one by one and then give my overall thoughts on the list and what I think will happen going forward. Let's get started. So let's start with the banned cards. First up is Gen Releaser of Rituals. This is something that a lot of people were calling for. I know there was a pretty strong camp that said don't ban the Gen, hit like Necroz, like hit, you know, Unicore or something else, so the Gen wouldn't be as usable because it's not been a problem up until Necroz's release. Then there are people who are just like, no, get rid of it, it's degenerate, I hate it, it makes facing this deck really annoying. Both sides have, you know, their merits, but this is what ended up happening. I'm happy to see the Genlock gone. It was getting really annoying. I think that a big problem Konami probably had with it was not only the fact that, you know, it made Necroz really powerful, but also because it was a really splashable engine. You can actually splash like Necroz Mirror and Quazolis into pretty much any deck, and like Rhoda could search it, and like, basically any deck could kind of Necroz Genlock you if they wanted to. Not as effective as in the actual Necroz deck, but still it was totally doable, and that was pretty annoying. So I think that Konami just wants to get rid of those you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh cards. This has kind of been a growing trend. They've gotten rid of a lot of the you can't do anything cards, so I'm not too surprised about this. Second card is Lavolval Chain. So this one was a little bit more interesting because I think people were thinking, you know, Lavolval Chain or Gen might get banned, but maybe not both. And that was actually a common complaint with the ARG ban list. And that was that, you know, like if they banned Gen, then why ban Lavolval Chain? And so Lavolval Chain's also banned, probably because of nutty FTKs. To be perfectly honest, I don't keep up with that kind of thing, so I don't know exactly what FTKs and OTKs and stuff people have. I was hoping to maybe just see this card go to 1 so that lower tier decks, like just your average zombie deck or like Gym Knight deck or something, would be able to use it and, you know, set up with the card, because a lot of lower tier decks needed it. But I see where the problems came in. The card was a bit, it's not the card that was overpowered, it was just such an enabler, and that's just kind of what it is. Shame, but there we go. And right after it got reprinted in the Gold Series too. Anyways, those are the only cards that got banned. I don't think there were any other cards people were expecting to get banned that I can remember off the top of my head. Some people wanted like Clearport Towers, but that far from happened, but we'll get to that later. So, yeah, let's continue on. Shrit, Strategist of the Necroz, or whatever it's called. So, Shrit was sort of just the free, when it's attributed for the Ritual Summon, it counts as the whole thing, and then it gets like another Necroz monster. So I see the idea with this. It was searchable by Rhoda, so it was like way too easy to get. A lot like Quazolis, but also this cuts the easy ritual summoning that, you know, Necroz had. They can't like easily ritual summon things like Trishula and any other high level ones. And also it cuts away a lot of their advantage and sort of consistency without, you know, hitting Brionic or Quazolis, which is what I think a lot of other people wanted. So the idea here is that because there's only one Shrit, once it's used, it's basically gone. There aren't really ways to get it back reliably. And with that said, I'm happy with this hit. I think that this means that, you know, Necroz won't be able to get so much easy free advantage. The deck actually already had a bit of an advantage problem. It was one of those decks that usually wanted to go second and usually wanted to kind of wait before it started going nuts. It needed to get like a Manju early on or like resolve a Herald of Arclight to keep the advantage up. Otherwise it could lose kind of easily to things like traps, and the Genlock was a bit of a crutch. So with the Genlock gone and Shred at 1, the deck does feel decidedly weaker, and that's not the only hit to it. But I am satisfied with Shred. I was thinking that it could have been Brio to 1, could have been Claws to 1, but I like the idea to hit Shred. It makes sense. Next, we've got Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. So this thing has been spinning heads because, like, whoa, we have Trish back. It's like what everybody's always wanted, but it actually happened for once because, you know, there have been things we've always wanted and they never happened. Trish is back. I think this is a huge deal, mainly because it's Trishula. It's, you know, generic level 9 synchro that gives you the same effects that Necroz have had for the last, you know, 6 months. You can now Trish people again. I think that's really cool. So this doesn't necessarily buff any specific deck, but it just gives a lot of power, puts a lot of power back in the hands of the synchro decks. Because, you know, for a long time when Goyo was banned and Trish was banned and Brio was banned, it just felt like there wasn't anything worth going into, and like Hyper Librarian was limited and all that stuff. But now, we're getting a lot more power back in the hands of synchro decks. Glow Up Bulb's back now. You know, now that we have Trish, it's like, wow, synchro decks can actually do something. I totally agree with this. I think it's really cool. I don't have any complaints. I know a few people are unhappy about it and feel like it's going to like be crazy, but you know, this is 2015. We've been dealing with Necroz of Trishula, which is admittedly easier to summon than actually regular Trishula in a lot of decks. And we have Breakthrough Skill, we have Fiendish, all the same ways you've been trying to deal with regular or Necroz Trish, you can use for regular Trish. So I wouldn't make too big of a deal about it. I think it's really cool. Obviously the faster, more advantageous synchro decks will benefit more from this. First things that come to mind is like, you know, Plant Synchro, maybe some Shaddoll variants, perhaps. Kind of scary to think about that. And like Mermails, stuff like that. Those decks I think can get a good bit of use out of it, but everybody can use it now, so hey, you don't have to use Mistworm. Pretty neat. Atlantean Dragoons. Really awesome decision from them because I've been playing Mermails a lot recently and I really enjoy using the deck. I like how it plays. I understand that it can't really keep up with the format, like, you know, the speed and the power creep that's happened recently. And I don't think that Dragoons will necessarily change any of that. However, Dragoons is a useful, like, buff for the deck. I think it kind of makes sense since, you know, Fire Fist got all their stuff back. They got back their Spirit, they got back their Wolf Heart. And since the Dragon Roars are banned, Mermails don't have title anymore, it kind of makes sense to bring back Dragoons. Give them, I wouldn't necessarily say, well, yeah, more consistency, I guess you could call it. It's cool. You can now search, you know, your Megalos, anything like that. Search the Diva, which is sadly still at 1, but it's cool because, like, Diva can now get Marksman. If Marksman can, like, attack, you can get Dragoons and attack and then Trish them. That's kind of a neat little thing. But yeah, by and large, I don't think Dragoons, like, massively buffs this deck, but I do think it's really neat, and I think it's also going to be helpful if Nephtabist decides to actually come out anytime remotely soon in the TCG, so that's pretty cool too. And you can search, what, Heavy Infantry a little bit easier, so that's like an out to a few problem cards, so kind of a buff for Mermails, nothing major, but I do like it. So then we have Dragon Ravine to 2, so this is an interesting pick, because it's something that Dragoonity players have kind of been begging for. Dragon Ravine went to 1 last time, and now we have it at 2, so your Dragoonity deck can finally consistently get off some of its combos. I think that's really neat. The Dragon Rulers are still banned, so it feels like this card's safe. I don't have any complaints. Not much more to say about it. Card's a bit old, so will Dragoonities really be able to keep up? Doubtful. But hey, you know, if you're into dragons, or you specifically like Dragoonities, then one more thing, right? And then several cards went to 3 on this list. I'll just read them off. Glow Up Bulb, not really meaningful. You can only use it once per duel, so I don't see this being a huge deal. Sinister Serpent, the errated version's pretty, so it's at 3. Dark Strike Fighter, the errated version is again, so no big deal. Sacred Sword of 7 stars, kind of a bigger deal. I know that there's supposed to be some cool interactions you can use this with some upcoming decks. I haven't read too much into that though, so you guys know more than I do. But I was hoping the card would go to 3. It's whatever. I don't think it'll get out of hand. Temple of the Kings and Exchange of the Spirit, 2 more errated cards that, whatever. The errated versions, just, they're not seeing use. It's a shame, that's how it is, so live with it, I guess. So if you're like me, you're wondering, wait, the list ended there? What about the hits to Burning Abyss? Shaddolls? Satellar Knights? Qliforts? Anything? Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I read this. It just feels like this list is, they're just conspicuously absent. So what happened, you know, we were thinking like Seer and Dante to like 1 and 2 and all this stuff, and like Altair, Deneb to 1, and you know, L Fusion and Construct like limited or banned or whatever, and all these things. And yet here we are, and none of it's here, none of it at all. All of these decks that have been just oppressively ruling the format, gone, like they're, well, gone as in like they're not here. What's the deal? And so that's kind of what I've been wondering, and that's kind of what I've been thinking about. So what could be going on here? Does Konami feel like the decks are perfectly balanced and it's just a-okay? Because I disagree, but or is it something that they're trying to sell? I assume maybe Megaten 2015 might be, you know, having a lot of like things like Dante reprint, Shaddol Fusions reprints, and like maybe Qlifort stuff, and they're maybe trying to sell that, keep the decks relevant so they can sell that. But even that feels like a weak reasoning. It just makes me wonder, like, what was the deal with this list? It almost feels unfinished. And something else suspect about the list is that there is no end date, a lot like the last one. If you read some of Konami's statements on this, it feels a bit hazy about what exactly they mean, but it feels like we're kind of going to be moving away from 3-month formats, and we're going to be moving maybe just towards like formats that change as Konami sees fit, which is a bit worrying, and I don't know what to think about that. But my thing is, I'm just wondering when, you know, BA and Satellar Knights and Qli and Shaddolls will get hit. I was kind of hoping for hits here, but it's just strange. What do you guys think? You know, is it to sell something? Is it because maybe they'll wait to hit them later? I'm just not really sure what to think about it. And I know that's really, I mean, I know a lot of people have said that, but it's just really odd. I'm not complaining because I like all of the changes that have happened. I like Trish back. I like, you know, Dragoons back and Ravine back and that kind of stuff. But it just feels like we got several things back. Necraz got their little Badop. And that's that. What's the deal here? I mean, that's just really weird. So, that's kind of the question today is, it's not really what I think of the list and what it was, it's kind of what I think of what it wasn't. I know that's always kind of the complaint with these lists, but this really is quite strange. So, I don't know, I just can't really think of it. But, what do I think the future will be? That's something that we can pretty easily predict for now. Alright, so, Core is coming out. Dragon's Legend 2 just came out. Cosmos have been announced, and then we've got, like, what is it, Arrow Mages and Magispectors and a bunch of other stuff. Well, so far, it's seeming like Satellar Knights are fine. I can't see a hit to them on this list. Qli is fine. Those are 2 decks people were angry about, you know, ARG not doing anything about, but they're here as well. Shaddolls are perfectly fine. Burning Abyss is untouched since its last, you know. So, I guess those will be top tier for the next, you know, foreseeable few months. Will Clash of Rebellion be able to change that? Will we get some sort of floodgates that help us against them? Or will the power creep of new archetypes maybe render them useless? It's going to be tough because, you know, Shaddolls and, like, Burning Abyss and Qli, those are very powerful decks. They'll be really difficult to creep out, and so it just makes you wonder, what's going on? So, the future seems, I don't want to say bleak, but a bit boring because it just feels like this is just going to be kind of a repeat format, and that's what a lot of people weren't happy about in the last few ban lists, actually. Is that, you know, in January this kind of happened, and then in April it still sort of happened. I mean, it just doesn't feel like we've really balanced the game out, or maybe Konami thinks that the game is balanced as it is, and I wouldn't disagree that it's balanced between the top decks, but for everything else, it's just like, well, more of this. Tower Turbo and Fire Lakes and Seer Loops and like losing the L Fusion in the middle of nowhere and other stuff like that. So getting Trivert every day. So I was actually hoping that those decks would get hit so like Ritual Beast and Yosenju could maybe like rise to the top or something. I don't know. Well, I don't have much else to say. Final words on the ban list. I don't really want to give it a rating. Normally I kind of give these ban lists like a rating like out of 10 or something. there's not much to say. It's just, it feels very empty. It feels unfinished. It almost feels like it doesn't need a rating because, like, it's hardly a ban list. I won't say I'm unhappy. I'm unsatisfied is maybe what it is. I'm not unhappy, I'm just unsatisfied. So I want to know how you guys feel about it. I know there've been like a billion ban list videos, so mine's just another one in the rushes. But leave your comments with what you think about the ban list. More importantly, why you think none of the top decks really got hit except for Necroz. I know people complain about that the most, but still, you know, it is just very strange. What do you think was the reasoning for that? What do you see for the future? When do you think we'll get another ban list? Because at this point, it's pretty up in the air. So that's going to be the discussion. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and share it. Also, remember to enter my giveaway. I'm giving away 3 Chibi playmats to 3 winners. So each winner will get to pick a playmat. Check the description. You can enter that. There are a lot of different ways to enter. Subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Last thing, next week I'll be out of town. So first thing about that is I'm going to Oklahoma City. So if anybody is in the Oklahoma City area, you know, like the card shops where people play and what days they play, please let me know. You can either like message me on Facebook or Twitter about it, or just leave it in the comments. I want to know what the card shops are, where I should go, what days they have tournaments, what times. I'm going to be there, going to be trying to get videos, duels, decks, interviews maybe. We'll see. So if you're there, look forward to seeing me. And also, because I'll be out of town, I'm going to be getting a lot of guest uploads next week. I have a few lined up from like people like Olenthio and yeah, MSC TV, Ryan Nisker. Some of them, I'm still waiting for some responses, but should be getting a lot of guest uploads next week, so that should be interesting for you guys. Anyways, I think I've gone on long enough, so hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoy this ban list. Don't know what else to say about it. Pretty cool, but pretty underwhelming. And later.